Adopt the resolution. Ms. Doyle.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. McClellan.
Aye.
Mr. Riddick.
Aye.
Ms. Royster.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. We have several speakers tonight to speak and do business, but before I call, let me just make some comments regarding violence. Under no circumstances is violence an option. The uptick in violence in too many municipalities throughout the country has many mayors and their legislative bodies and staff seeking immediate and long-term solutions. The families of those impacted by violence are always in our prayers as we work diligently to identify suspects and take actions to address the problems. The harsh truth is that there are too many guns on our streets, and it is becoming all clear that too many people lack a regard for human life. Across the country, we have too many guns in circulation, and many children live in homes with guns. About 121 firearms are in circulation for every 100 residents, according to an April 2021 Reuters report. More than 4 in 10 U.S. adults, 44%, say they live in a household with a gun, including about a third, 32%, who say they personally own one, according to a Gallup survey conducted in October of 2020. It is estimated that there are 4.6 million American children live in a household where at least one gun is kept, loaded and unlocked, according to a study published by the Journal of Urban Health. It has become too easy for people to get access to a gun, and Norfolk is working hard to recover firearms to help curtail gun violence. In 2020, MPD recovered 920 guns, a 16% increase from the 791 guns recovered in 2019. 102 of the 920 guns were recovered from felons, but only 52 of these guns were reported stolen. The city, community members, and parents must recognize red flags and act immediately when they see them. Young people who live in homes with firearms are at risk when someone in the home has a history of abuse, mental illness, or involvement with illegal drugs or other criminal activity. We will work to provide resources to these at risk of violence, especially since many of these victims know the perpetrator. We will invest in violence interruption programs to mediate issues in the community between individuals who would otherwise be considered at risk of resulting their conflict. We support and we join many community leaders who are working each and every day to carry out their goal and our goal of community engagement. Here, name a few. The Ministers' Conference, and it's good to see Dr.
program of conflict mediation.
Sir, can you have him removed?
That we put in here.
For
if they remove me, they're going to remove you.
The Hunt and Why. We have Bilal Muhammad and Stop the Violence. We have Greg Shivers, Southside Boys and Girls Club. Dwight McDowell, East Ocean View Athletics Association. Robert Gorham, and Youth Outreach Resources and Ministries, and many other organizations. We applaud them, and we continue to work with all workers in the city. Public safety employees, we encourage and we support our public safety officers, and we will do more to support them. The city will also adhere to strict traffic, drug, and code enforcement policies. And the administration is working directly with the special code enforcement liaisons in Ocean View, Park Place, Huntersville, and on the South Side communities. I want to thank Dr. Filer, Deputy Police Chief Michael Goldsmith, and Chief Boone, who are crafting and will put forth a comprehensive approach that involves the community in addressing violence. Gun violence is impacting our entire city, especially neighborhoods of opportunity, and affecting our children. The council, we believe together, the council, parents, public institutions, private enterprises, large and small, nonprofit partners, community leaders, and volunteers, we together will stop this senseless violence in the city of Norfolk. David Brenner is the first person who's registered to speak.
David Brenner, 2204 Halpern Court. I want to first apologize. I don't even want to apologize. I know what kind of integrity Mayor Alexander has had for all of his life of being a native of Berkeley. You've always been a man of integrity, someone for the people, of all the people. You've been a delegate, you've been out there in the civic leagues, state senator, mayor, and you could have done a lot more bigger things with yourself instead of serving the community, which you love to do. You've taken away from your family, taken away from your wife, your children, and you have served this community through a billion-dollar deficit, a pandemic, and everything else. And I commend you. And I'm sorry that you had to have someone do that to you just now. It hurts my heart. So what I want to say right now, first thing I want to send my condolences and prayers to the families that are going to have a lifetime effects of loss of male and female youth of color in our city. This has not just started to go on because of the pandemic. This has been going on for decades. This would be a disservice to me if I would not have come this evening. There is going to be someone that is going to obviously get locked up. They're going to be incarcerated. So that is going to be an effect on that family, where they have to have someone incarcerated for the rest of their life for killing an innocent person. The family that loses somebody, they are going to ride by Tanner's Creek, example, this past Saturday. They're going to ride by that tree. And as we say in the military, PTSD is real. They're going to look at that tree. They're not going to even want to ride down that road because that effect is going to be an effect in their mind the rest of their life. So I just come here today, and I respect each and every one of you, especially the mayor of Norfolk. And there's a lot of loss here. It's a lot of pain, but I believe that all of y'all are trying to do the best, and definitely the mayor has the best for our city, for our youth. I believe that we need to create maybe some programs, maybe a program where we can have the police involved with the Norfolk Public Schools, maybe a piece of land. I know in Portsmouth, they have a piece of lot where they have a building where they teach fire safety, different things like that. Get a piece of lot where basically there's a cadet school for kids so they can get a better understanding of law enforcement, get a better understanding, because I don't think defunding our police is a good thing. I think keeping the police in there, but making this getting the, sorry, I'm just talking off the cuff.
Thank you so much, David.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome, sir. Willie Coley? Is Mr. Coley?
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. I had that one thing I forgot. I'm sorry.
Can you do it
I
in
had
30,
some
can you do it in
blood
30
work done
seconds?
today.
30 seconds.
A wise man told me one day, we have to continue to help parents with their children, support our youth, and guide them to make better choices. It's a shared responsibility. Parents, child, and communities working together. We have to instill to stop the cycle in the revolving doors within our city. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Coley? Willie Coley. Steve Paget.
Yeah, hello, City Council, Mr. Mayor. My name's Steve Paget. I live at 521 Bosavane Avenue in Norfolk. And I'm got my T-shirt on here, Stop the Violence Team. It's Bilal Muhammad. He's been doing this for some years. When there's a shooting, we go out. Now, we went out on Saturday to Tanner's Creek. The chief was there, and he spoke a bit, and the first thing he said was, "We're not policing ourselves out of this." He said, "This is a public health crisis," and I know that's exactly how I feel about it. So I looked up some numbers. I'm going to give you some numbers. This is 2018 homicides in the USA. I broke it down by white and black or African American. And in summary, white on white homicides is 1 per 100,000. White on black is half per 100,000. Black on white is 1/5 per 100,000. And black on black is 6 per 100,000. This is a cultural problem. It's been going on for a long time. And why? Why? I mean, why? Why are people in the black communities shooting at each other? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but I see it as they have no opportunities. It's like they're trapped. They have no. I taught in DC public schools years ago, and I saw this school I was in, particularly, I saw these kids, they just don't have the opportunities that they should have as kids. And this is true in black communities, because black communities, they don't have the property. They don't own the property to support the schools that their kids need to go to get the opportunities they need to have, you know, a really good life. They form gangs. And they shoot at each other, and that's it, and that's the reason. So I believe firmly or strongly that we really need, the only way to solve this thing is through reparations. And I'm talking about what I saw about 6 months ago in Asheville. A legislator named Keith Young passed a bill on reparations in Asheville. It made perfect sense. It's not about handouts. It's not a contentious issue. It's about creating programs and things to
Thank you.
develop.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. You can
Okay,
take 10
so-
sequends to just wrap it up, but.
Yeah,
we're going to a
so
close.
I'm going to send you all
Okay,
emails on this particular program, and I really asked the council, I begged the council to consider these reparations, because these kids, I'm telling you, I taught school for 40 years ago, and
yes,
these
sir,
kids,
thank you for your service.
It's no better off
Allow
now.
Mr. Willie B. Coley.
How you doing?
Fine, sir.
How you
Please state your name and your address.
Willie Coley, 7005 University Drive, Norfolk, Virginia, 23513.
Welcome.
Okay. What I have issues with, I've been trying to have my street repaired. It's gotten to the point right now, it's been about 2 years, over 2 years. It's a guy named John Snowden, supposed to be in charge of this. Called this guy too many times, no answer, leave messages, no return. What has happened, my driveway separated from the asphalt. I had to go out and purchase cement myself and fill this area in to protect my driveway from falling in. Adjacent to my house is an empty house, and the drainage is horrible. The street hasn't been dead in, I think, over 20 years, and the last time that it was dead, it wasn't dead properly. The jacklegs that came out there covered the drains. I had to go out and take a chisel and a hammer and make it so the water can drain properly. And like I said, I have grass growing in front of my house. That's from the screed. That's my issue.
Sir, thank you. And if you would check in the back, I see Ms. Trista Pope, I see Mr. James Rogers, his last day at work, but check in the back, and someone will get your information, and we'll take a careful look at what you've shared with us.
Thank you.
Okay? They'll be in the back of the chamber. Thank you, sir. Trista's there. And I see Catherine as well. All right. Okay, Mr. Bilal Muhammad.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Bilal Muhammad. I reside at 9634 First Bay. I'm here this evening to discuss a situation facing with violence in our community, and I'd like to share this information with you. I have been doing community work for 50 years and was also chairman of Berkeley Reunion Program for many years. Currently, I have been the organizer, chairman, Stop the Violence team for 15 years. At this time, I would like to acknowledge any members of the community who are here standing in unity and support of the mission and vision of this organization. Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to also take this moment to thank Mr. Mayor and Mr. Kenny, Dr. Kenny Cooper Alexander, and our Chief Boone, members of Norfolk Police Department and the city staff, for any other who have joined in our effort in response to stopping the violence in our neighborhoods. The problem is not just the city problem. It has affected every neighborhood in Norfolk. Our innocent, precious children and community members are dying each week, and we need solutions now. We have been organizing family and youth community events in partnership with churches, leaders, and bring children to safe spaces and to let them know that we care, but we cannot do it alone. This is a public safety crisis of life and death proportions. We restored we would like to restore funding in the recreation park and open space libraries budget to open every recreation facility and library in the city of Norfolk. Establish a partnership to work with local and nonprofit organizations, civil league and leaders, Norfolk, the education department, Norfolk Public School, military members, and government and retirees to serve as volunteers to work part-time to support and run the facility programs. For the youth, for the duration of the summer until permanent staff can be hired. Meet with each leader anytime before July the 21st to develop a recreation and community action plan. The rest of the summer, fall, and a sustainable solution to protect our youth and community immediately. The Stop the Violence team is currently establishing an event in the Northside Park.
Mr. Black,
Thank
30
you.
30 seconds, you finish at 30 seconds?
I just wanted to close out by saying that we really hopefully looking for a collective effort so we can really get things better for our youth in the city of Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Mr. Riddick.
with the COVID that we dealt with these last 15 months, I heard somebody say, and the cutback of the budget, I really think that the city is somewhat responsible for the idle time that these youngsters have had. Not the results, but the idle time. One of the first things that we did, meaning the city of Norfolk, was cut out recreation, libraries, and swimming, and everything that would give our youngsters and young adults some activity. And when you cut that out, you know, you don't have any supervision there. So I secretly call the budget people in Norfolk skinflints because they would much rather have a couple of dollars squirreled away and keep going to these funerals, when if we give these youngsters activity, open up all the recreation centers, you know, and open up, you know, all the libraries and get things going. Our youngsters, you know, have been sitting idle for 15, 16 months. And idle minds is a devil workshop. And if we can, from what I understand, spend $350,000 from some sidewalks in certain communities, then certainly we can put money into positive activity of our youngsters. We have no one to blame but ourselves because we have just dropped the ball. I think about this as 100 years ago, but I think about when I was a youngster, we had no money, meaning the city of Norfolk. Now we have $1 billion plus budget, and we can't find enough money to take care of our youngsters and our future generation. And I think we need to send a message to the manager, to the budget people, that we want to see a difference. And if we don't see a difference, then we're going to have to see some different faces, because it's ridiculous that we have this money squirreled away, and every night we pick up some youngsters, you know, on the street dead. You know, Brother Muhammad has been here for years, not just months, not just this occurrence, but years, carrying the same, you know, same platform. And so it's time for us to stop playing. It's time for us to stop playing and acting like we don't have any money, acting like we can't find people to work when we can. And I don't know, you know, we used to have jobs for these youngsters, you know, and now we just let them go for themselves so we can look at money. We got to stop looking at the money and put the money to use, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Mr. Smigiel.
Yep. Thank you for your service to the community.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank you.
was not able to attend the event because I didn't know about it, but I watched it live when the mayor and the police were there, and thank you for organizing that. I do agree with most of what Mr. Riddick's saying, although I do believe some of the folks that are involved in this are not going to be people that would be participating in the things that we offer as a city. As an educator, I'm about education. And years ago, we stopped teaching our young kids in school, working with the community, the difference between right and wrong. We've gotten so focused on SOL testing and data and passing tests that we need to bring back the programs, starting with our babies.
That's right.
We used to have DARE, we used to have PACE, where we were in the schools and speaking with the children, not at them, and getting them engaged and involved at a very young age so that they grow up understand that it's okay to snitch. You know, it's okay to tell the truth. It's okay to talk about what's happening in our neighborhoods. It's okay to report a family member when they're not doing something right. It's bigger. And one thing that's really missing is we're not bringing our kids to the table and asking them what they want. We used to have a very active youth council in the city, and it evolved over time. Years ago, I was able to convince the city to help fund a leadership program. It was a camp, and it was every high school sent 25 teenagers as an advisory to the city on programming and things that we need to do, and that got cut. We had, I know Councilwoman Johnson has done some outreach with youth, but it's not where it used to be years ago, where we have kids at the table and we're talking with them, not at them. They have ideas, they have solutions, they will tell us what they want in the city.
That's right.
They will tell us what's going on. But if you involve them and not talk at them or tell them what to do. We see this in our schools. We see this everywhere. We have to start with those babies and start teaching them the difference between right and wrong. We assume it's being taught at home, but we know that that is not. And they grow up with bad influences. And I'll tell you, it's not even just race related. It's all kids. They're seeing stuff on Facebook. Not Facebook. Excuse me. They don't even know what Facebook is. TikTok, snapping. I mean, they're getting stuff on YouTube.
That's right.
They don't have to. They don't even have to get educated anymore from us. But they're getting the negative stuff from the wrong places.
That's right. That's right.
We have to prevent that. We have to go in. We have to talk to them. I'm going to tell you, just in 21 years in Norfolk Public Schools, if you go and talk to those kids and involve them, they can be the biggest change. It's not you're helping, but they will be the biggest change agent for the city if we get them involved. We have some momentum, Teens with a Purpose, but that's small.
Yeah.
That's not big enough to tackle the issues that we're dealing with, across our city. And it's in East Ocean View where you live. It's in Diggstown. We just had an issue yesterday, and I think another young lady died. We have to talk to our kids at a young age, educate them. It's education, I think, is the biggest key to this. We need our police officers more in the schools than ever, so that they understand that they're here to protect them and teach them the difference between right and wrong, like we used to do.
That's right.
And getting our community members in there. So I think what you said, Mayor, in the beginning was great, but the one part that was missing was getting kids at the table and asking them. It's easy for adults to say what we want and what we think, but we need to talk to the kids. I talk to my children all the time. I ask them what they want to do, what excites them. Some of them want to. One of my daughters just wants to sit in bed all day on her phone. I want her to be swimming. I want her to be out doing things.
Yeah.
But there are other kids who can't even do that, and they go out in the street to find that negative attention and get that attention. So
agree.
I thank you again for everything that you're doing. I think collectively I think this is a wake-up call. It's unfortunate that it's too late, but it's a bigger wake-up call. And we really need to work with the school system. We need to work with everybody and make sure we get our kids at the table on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
Mr.
Thank you
Mayor,
very
Yes,
much.
Ms.
if I
Johnson.
may.
Yes, go right on.
We do have a lot of work to do. But I can tell you one thing. Yesterday, I was on a tour in Ward 3, which I'm responsible for. And I went to visit the local businesses. My industrial parks, business parks in Ward 3 are full with businesses. And I wanted to know exactly what was happening with the businesses in Ward 3 industrial parks. They're full because the small businesses are booming. And yesterday I visited Talbot, which is right off of Ballantyne Boulevard, across from the Kroc Center. And I visited a place called CIRS. It's Computerized Imaging Reference Systems. And it's amazing what they do. Most people can't imagine what this high-tech business does for people like you and me. They recreate what is called phantoms. And phantoms are bodies that they create to represent our bodies for when we go in the hospital to have an MRI, a CT scan. They recreate our tissues, every organ in our body. And it's amazing. So in talking with both of these business owners, I can tell you, and now I'm going to challenge you. They are looking for people to come and work in they're willing to start them off, training them. They don't need any experience. The only thing that they ask these two wonderful business companies is that the people who show up to work are willing to come to work every single day and have a good attitude. So now I'm giving that to you. And you're absolutely right. We have to form these partnerships. But the jobs are out there for our children. I know, because I'm boots on the ground. That's just how I am. So the jobs that these two businesses are offering to all of Norfolk's children is just right around the corner or right across the bridge. Both of the business owners are willing to do field trips with the children. So if you're prepared to gather up our scholars, they will provide an opportunity. Our children just need an opportunity,
Yes.
a chance. They need to be able to dream and vision things that they normally don't get to see. And we have to provide that for them. So these two businesses are willing to do field trips.
Okay.
So now your challenge is, who will those scholars be that you're going to gather up for me? And you're going to go and visit these two businesses and many more in the industrial park area. They're just waiting for you. And we have to make that connection. Mr. Jared Chalk and I, we took this tour because I like taking tours because I want to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Since I served the ward. And we took this tour so that we could see Amazon. How many of you knew that Amazon distribution center is in Ward 3? That's for all of us. It's not just for Ward 3, and that's what I want citizens to understand. Just because it's in one ward does not mean that it's not for every single citizen in the city of Norfolk. It is for all of us. So, Mr. Muhammad, and to your team, that you're hard working out in the communities. I'm now providing you resources for our children,
Right.
and I want you to take advantage. Sir, thank you.
We'll do.
Ms. McClellan?
Thank you.
Mr. Mohammed, I'm going to turn us a little bit different direction here in this discussion, but I want to take advantage of not only you being here, but also Delegate Scott. We need to be working with our legislators. We've already talked about a possible legislative agenda item on something else, but this has got to be something we've got to work with our state legislators on as well.
Okay.
And the gun violence that we're seeing, and we see the chief talk about this frequently, and he's been a leader on this and addressing them. Most of those guns are either stolen, they're lost, they're in the wrong hands.
That's right.
But we know that there are families, mothers, fathers, who suspect maybe a child, a loved one, might have some gang activities, might have some guns in a household,
Yes.
but they're afraid to turn them in because they don't want their family member to suffer the outcomes. We need to have some sort of amnesty to allow them to do so, just as
Yes.
people will call the police if there's a threaten of an overdose.
That's right.
We need to work with our state legislators to provide that opportunity, because we've got to get the guns out of the hands of these kids.
Right.
And so that's the recommendation that I hope that we will work with our state legislators and our legislative agenda moving forward. And thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cameron Bertram, followed by Bernard Pee Wee Thompson. Philip Hawkins, you will be after Mr. Thompson. You'll be after Mr. Thompson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
How y'all
evening.
doing today? My name is Cameron Bertrand. I'm the CEO of Violence Intervention and Prevention, VIP LLC. I'm also the founder of Buy Back the Block, Beyond the Bullet. I'm a sociologist, criminologist, mental health counselor, published author, public speaker, and most importantly, I'm a gun violence survivor. I was shot right here in Norfolk, November 7th, 2015, on Corporal and Marshall, not far from here. Since that day, I've reached out to many resources right here in Norfolk, the Commonwealth Attorney and the Victim Service Fund, the Victims Advocate. And to my dismay, I've had to not only go out and create an organization to create a blueprint for the resources that I would have needed as a gun violence survivor and that I still need with 3 chronic disorders, mental health disorders, and things that I currently have been continuing to work through. But a lot of times we reshuffle the deck, we talk about the programs and the resources and the things we need in our community, and we forget one thing, that there are people who are trauma informed on exactly what we're talking about. You can go to school and be educated on this matter, but living through it is a totally different ballgame. And I'm here to tell you, even as I'm partially paralyzed, even as I stand here with this compression sleeve on my leg, every day I go into these streets, these kids need to see somebody that looks like them, that understands what they're going through. Peer support groups and outcome-driven programs are important. The resources to sustain those programs through all the trauma that we're experiencing in our communities are important. And what was talked about today with reparations, that means that's something tangible, something that we can hold in our communities, and those people have something to lose. Because be clear, I'm a military veteran. I served 4 years as a paralegal. I graduated from Christopher Newport University. I went to Deep Creek High School and I was exposed to gun violence very early. I got people back home and friends that are still my friends that ain't doing what I'm doing in life. When I got shot as an innocent victim, walking from Norfolk State Homecoming to my car with my best friend, I had every right to go out and defend myself, retaliate through all the anger and everything that I experienced, and I didn't. Why? Because I have something to lose. I mentor kids right here in Norfolk on Ruffner. I work with Norfolk General and Trauma Center in Foresight. I work with United Way, United Healthcare to diagnose the issues we have in our community. And these kids don't believe that they'll live long enough to face the consequences for the decisions they're making today. We got kids out here fighting over neighborhoods that they don't own nothing in. And that's a mindset. Guns do not kill people. People do. We got guns in our community that shouldn't be there in the first place. But we won't talk about that. Because we can't go out and charter boats and planes and get these guns into our neighborhood. How are they getting there in the first place? What are the consequences, the consistent ones, for the guns that are being displaced? And I will tell you this, that Norfolk has a model for systematic racism that goes very far back. And we have cities across the nation that have taken up this model to study what has happened here in Norfolk, and the gentrification and displacement and the trauma that it causes our families. Our kids need to see when they walk through them streets and they're making decisions that every time they do, it may impact somebody they know and love. And that will change the game. But we cannot keep talking about what is right here in front of us and the temporary programs and the resources, because I'm doing the work and I will continue to do it. But there's a missing piece, and it's that, giving our people something to lose, building generational wealth to break generational trauma and curses that we are born into. because the conditions that we are living in, we never even know what it's like to be able to have to make a decision that may impact us in the long run, because we're making decisions to get through the next day. We have had a shooting every single day this month in the 757. Do not leave here today without knowing that there are people, not only myself included, because I ran for office here in Virginia. I'm doing the work. And it's been 5 years since I got shot, and I'm still fighting just to get the funding that I need to get past my chronic disorders. And it's unfair, and it's traumatizing, and it's disheartening. I've reached out to the same people that y'all spoke on today. I've never got a phone call back. Not even from Officer Lowry, who's supposed to be detecting my case. And that hurts. But I'll tell you this, it won't stop me from being there for my people, and I hope that it won't stop you all for standing up for us as well.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
testimony. Thank you so much. Mr. Bernard Pee Wee Thompson, followed by Mr. Philip Hawkins. And following Mr. Hawkins, Amina Ali.
My name is Bernard Pee Wee Thompson. I said 214 Huff Avenue in the city of Norfolk. Someone once said that everybody that is famous is not great, and everybody that is great is not famous. Who's willing to take the blame for where we stand today? I'll assure you this time, people have very little to say. I worked for the city of Norfolk part-time for 47 years. We were terminated on 3/16/20 because of the pandemic. EAR, he that have an ear, let him hear. Education and recreation. Now, I'm looking at everybody's faces on the panel. I don't know Dr. Fowler. He doesn't know me. But he convinced you all to fire all 500 part-time workers. He's got to be a smart man. To convince every one of you all to say, get rid of them all, that own this city in the pandemic, to do that. I know at least 4 of you all on the panel. Nobody called to say, well, Pee Wee, how you doing? How you coming through the pandemic? Well, I had 2 strokes in the pandemic, 2 blood clots on my brain right now. Who cares? Now, everybody got the answer today. 1982, Bilal Muhammad was at my house the night his brother got killed. I have been working the streets for 50 years. Mr. Smith, you said that the kids give the information. They do. But you got to talk to them. What about the SOLs? Well, I got an acronym, same old lies. When we talk about funding, now I knew Vincent Thomas, Irvin Hill, Chief Henson, Chief Thaler, Chief Hyde. I was 19. If I live to see next year, I'll be 69. Listen, you can talk about it, but you got to be about it. When a gunshot goes off, nobody says, I got a doctorate degree. I've got a master's. I personally can tell you, no cameras around, that at least 5 people have told me that I saved their life. But guess what? This is what Charlie Michelle, the lawyer, said, man, I'm going to wind right on down.
Thank you.
Charlie Michelle said the absence of God. We've taken prayer, we've taken God. There's only one preacher here tonight that I see. And I'm coming back at another time so I can get 3 more minutes To God be the glory. As always, remember that we take care of our own, not just verbally.
Mr. Philip Hawkins, followed by Amina Ali, followed by Jason Inge.
Good evening, Mayor Dr. Alexander, Vice Mayor Thomas, members of Norfolk City Council, Dr. Filer. Again, I'm Philip Hawkins, and I reside in the city of Norfolk, address on file. And of course, I'm standing in solidarity and unity with the audience tonight from Stop the Violence team. And I'm also speaking from the experience of, as an educator, as well as Mr. Smeagol, Councilman Smeagol. You know, I'm just out of breath. I don't have any more breath for every morning news story that keeps coming out for another life lost, another precious jewel taken from us. And behind what? Senseless gun violence. That we as leaders have to take a stand and do more. And so, and I know, thank you so much for what you all are trying to do. We know the chief is out there trying to be in the space. The members of council, you all are all doing different things. And I can't speak on all of that because I'm not everywhere that you all are. So, but with that said, there were themes that were already stated tonight. So I will just echo those if you will indulge me. The recreation facilities, and I have been speaking about that, and I do applaud you all, the ones who have been saying we need to get them reopened, all of them, because that's the infrastructure that the children need now. They're on the streets. They're not doing anything. They're riding in the neighborhoods on their bikes, their skateboards, and some of them are riding the motor vehicles because they have no place to recreate. They have no place to go but their neighborhood streets. So what can they do, or stay inside after now coming out of a pandemic? I mean, I was one of those teachers teaching students on a screen for 15 months, preschoolers, and I witnessed firsthand the trauma that our children are going through. I mean, so many issues that they're facing, the social, emotional learning that they need, the supports they need. And I heard the gentleman talk about trauma-informed care. We have to do more. We have to make sure we focus on these social and economic issues that are facing the community. And we have to legislate responsible gun legislation, because many of those guns are guns that are in the community that are licensed to legal residents who own these guns, but they're not being responsible. They're leaving them unlocked. They're leaving them not in a lockbox or anything, no lock on the key of the gun, and the kids are getting them. So we have to take responsibility in the community, but we need your help. So I'm just standing up with these people, and I'm saying we have to do something now. Please invest in our children. We have leaders in the community who are working in industry. We need to partner with them. We will help man these rec centers until we get fully staffed, but we need to open them now. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can schedule a meeting. I heard another theme, and I'm gonna stop there. Youth Commission for the council. We had a youth council. I was a part of that as a volunteer under a different administration. We need to bring that back. I hear other cities are doing it. Newport News has an awesome program, and we need to have justice for all of the names that we have lost. Their lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Amina Ali, followed by Jason Inge.
Good evening, distinguished panel and guests. My name is Amina Ali. My address is 725 West 36th Street, Norfolk. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. My main purpose for wanting to speak tonight is, does the city council have the authority to authorize emergency curfews for minor to help offset the violence? One child is too many to lose. And so what can we do? I hear everyone, a lot of things that everyone stated are in my notes, but what can we do now? What can we do on an urgent matter? And Mr. Riddick, he pointed out some good points about funds being there but not being utilized. One of the things I wrote down, can we get emergency funds released to the civic leagues? Because as Mrs. Johnson noted, that there are jobs out here that are willing to employ our youth, but we need that connection. Can we connect with our city, can we connect with our civic leagues and give them money? Because it takes resources. It's not just, okay, here go the problem and we got part of the solution. You're gonna need money to make things happen. So if resources are there, can we get those resources released? And can we do something about our youth being out? Because I think it's something called, is it parentis locus, when the state steps in because parents are not, maybe as active in their children's life. Can we do something to intervene on behalf of our youth? And then also, Mr. Alexander, I will come up to General Assembly at least once a year. Norfolk does a good job about providing services for children. I believe my daughter is one of many success stories. So it's not that we don't have activities for our children. We do need more, but the activities are there, and we have to be proactive to take advantage of those activities. They're not going to come to us. We have to seek them out and then apply them. And then also in the city of Norfolk, it's not about money. If you don't have money, you guys offer applications to say, hey, I would like to partake in this, but I can't afford it. Put your application in, and Norfolk will make it happen. So there's a lot of good things that we are doing. And then also I noted about Teens with the Purpose. That's an excellent program and an excellent example. Can we continue to mimic that so that all areas of Norfolk have a Teens with the Purpose? We have to be more, concentrated in our different wards and our neighborhoods. And another thing I noted was about connecting to our youth. Can we call some type of emergency youth meeting out at Waterside where they can meet you, face to face, but, relative to COVID-19 with, distance, but where you guys could meet them and hear from them and even create a poll or survey. I took a survey early this year dealing with Parks and Recreations. It was like 10 pages long. I was like, what is this? But I'm committed to having my opinion, on record, but it was a long poll. But at the end of the day, I think we need to give the opportunity to our youth to partake. And also, I just want to note that my daughter came through the public school system, and she's now doing her PhD at Rutgers. So there are many success stories here, and then there are a lot of opportunities here. We just need to continue to partner with the community and give them resources so that they can also have that same success. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mina.
Mayor.
Yes, before you
Ali.
speak, to just answer some of your questions, Dr. Filer is going to put together a comprehensive approach that involves the community in addressing violence. And I don't know if he'll have it next meeting, but I know that he is working on it. And so some of the things that you have covered, he is working on something. I don't want to get ahead of the administration, but I do know that he's working on some of the things that you have addressed. Ms. Johnson.
Miss Ali, correct? So I don't know. One of the things that we have a difficult time in doing is getting civic leagues. Neighborhood development has grants that's offered to civic leagues. And we strongly encourage the civic leagues to apply for these grants. The team at Neighborhood Development, they're even willing to take you through the process so that you can receive the funding. They have a list of the possibilities of how you can use these funds, but the great thing is that they're willing to listen to the community as far as how the funding can be used. So if you could, and all of the civic leagues that hear the sound of my voice, apply for those grants, you can get up to $2,500. And that if groups of civic leagues apply for the grant, just think about the impact that it could make on many neighborhoods if you got together to apply for the grant. So the money is there, neighborhoods development, and if you need the information, we'll be more
And
than
that's
happy.
through, you said the NRHA? Oh, do who?
It's through the city.
Oh, through the
Norfolk Neighborhood Development.
Okay.
Mrs. Michelle Johnson.
Okay.
But we can give you the information
you.
tonight
Yes.
so that you can get to work on one of those
Okay.
grants.
Yes, ma'am.
And encourage other civic
Yes.
leads to join you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Inge.
Good evening, Dr. Alexander and City Council members. First, I do want to say thank you so much for all that you do and the civility behind the dais. And I definitely apologize for what happened earlier. I know civility still matters. But tonight I'm here to talk about the youth, and I want to just acknowledge their names and who they were. Tiana Colbert is the young lady who was killed on Tanner's Creek. Christopher Edmonds was the young man who was killed last night. So we must say their names so that they echo through City Hall and all throughout our city so that our children matter. This past weekend shootings and killings of our youth is just the latest indicator of what we already know. We need to do more than what we're currently doing to address the cancer plaguing in our communities. We must declare and acknowledge gun violence as a public health crisis. We must be very intentional and universal in our works to reduce the rise of gun violence in our city, showing genuine care and concern for victims, calling them by their names, and doing things beyond just thoughts and prayers. This will take a community-coordinated effort to address the systematic trauma of our neighbors who have experienced generations of suffering in our city. We must work in collaboration with our law enforcement, nonprofit organizations, and groups like Stop the Violence in our community, and other groups who have been doing the work tirelessly without any type of backing or compensation on the ground. I'm imploring this council today, as you move forward, and some of you have children, hug your children tightly. Tell them that you love them tonight. And I want you to go forward and declare a formal resolution declaring gun violence a public health crisis in the city of Norfolk. This is a public health crisis that is destroying our family structures, our businesses, and causing irreversible harm in our communities. Along with that formal resolution, we must dive into the $1.5 billion budget that you all passed recently and reallocate funding to our most urgent and complex crisis, which is traumatizing Black and brown communities across the city of Norfolk. And I leave you with these words on my time. We all have a role to play in this betterment of our community. If we're not helping to better our communities, we are complicit in its downfall and its utter destruction. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Bull, do we have any other speakers? Mr. Pishko, do you have anything? I do not. Dr. Feiler, do you have anything? No. This council meeting is adjourned.